Hey, I get it, you're staring at the endless sea of TV options and wondering if you're about to throw $100 at something that will end up sitting there looking gorgeous but never really fitting your life. You don't want to waste money on a picture-perfect screen that ends up being a pain to set up, or that looks amazing in the showroom but struggles with the games you love or the movies you binge. And if you're like most folks, you're also trying to figure out whether the hype around OLED really translates into everyday value for you. So before I dive in, just a heads up, the link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the LG C1 65-inch OLED. This isn't a brand new model, it launched back in 2021, but it's still one of the most talked about sets you'll find in the current market. What makes it stand out isn't just the fact that it's an OLED. Those 8 million self-lit pixels are the headline, but how those pixels behave when you actually sit down to watch a film, stream a series, or fire up a game console. First off, the picture quality. In a dark room, the blacks are genuinely black, because each pixel can turn off completely. That means you get the sort of depth you only see in a high-end cinema. In brighter environments, think a living room with a window that lets in a lot of daylight. LG's 9th generation AI processor 4K does a solid job of boosting brightness without washing out the colors. The result is a picture that feels vivid but still respects the original intent of the creators, especially when you enable Filmmaker Mode. If you love watching movies the way directors intended, with accurate colors and precise shadows, this TV delivers that experience without you having to tweak a dozen settings. Now, if you're a gamer, the C1 has a different set of strengths. It supports both NVIDIA G-SYNC and AMD FreeSync, which means you can plug in a modern console or a PC and expect a fluid, tear-free experience. The game optimizer automatically selects the best settings based on what you're playing, so you don't have to hunt through menus for the right input lag or response time. In practice, I've seen people report sub-10 ms input lag, a number that matters when you're trying to land a precise headshot. That said, the TV's OLED nature does mean you have to be mindful of static images. If you're planning to use it as a monitor for long stretches of static UI like a spreadsheet or a coding IDE, you'll want to enable the pixel shift feature or limit static content to avoid the dreaded permanent burn-in. What about the everyday setup? The C1 is a fairly thin slab, which makes wall mounting a breeze. It supports a standard VESA 300300 mount, although you'll have to buy that separately. The magic remote that comes with it feels like a step up from a typical TV remote. Voice commands work with Alexa built in, and you can point at the screen to navigate. In practice, though, many users find the remote a little finicky when you're trying to scroll through fast-moving menus. A traditional remote with a dedicated number pad can still be handy for quick channel surfing. If you're already deep into a smart home ecosystem, the built-in Alexa integration can simplify turning the TV on with a voice command, but it's not a game-changer if you rarely use voice assistants. Let's talk about who should actually buy this set. First, families or couples that watch a lot of high-definition content, think streaming services like Netflix, Prime Video, and Disney Plus, and care about the cinematic feel, will love the C1. Its ability to handle HDR10, Dolby Vision, and HLG means that the same set can display the varied HDR formats you'll encounter across different platforms. If you enjoy occasional gaming on a console like the PS5 or Xbox Series X and you want the same HDR brilliance there, the C1's variable refresh rate and low input lag make it a solid choice. On the other hand, this isn't the best pick for someone who wants a budget-friendly TV and doesn't mind a little less contrast. If you're primarily watching daytime TV in a bright room, a high-end LED or a QLED could give you a brighter image for a lower price, and you won't risk any potential OLED burn-in. Also, if you plan to keep a TV in a room where you'll constantly have static logos like a sports bar with a scoreboard, skip the C1 and look for a panel that's less susceptible to that risk. Now, let's be honest about the weaknesses. The first thing most reviewers note is the price. Even though the model is a year old, it still sits at a premium price point compared to LED alternatives of similar size. That makes the value proposition hinge heavily on how much you'll actually use those deep blacks and perfect colors. Also, because the TV is thin and heavy, wall mounting can be a bit